to consolidate your credit card or other debts? Just log on.
Number 2.
Yeah. This just in, you were looking at obviously a very disturbing live shot there. That is the World Trade Center, and we have unconfirmed reports this morning that a plane has crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center.
Today is the 18th anniversary of the September 11, 2001 attacks that occurred in New York City, Washington, D.C., and Shanksville, Pennsylvania. It was the most violent day since Antietam in the Civil War in 1862. And I just am going to go through some of the things that I held on to from those attacks, including newspaper, magazine articles, and movies pertaining to the day. So I just wanted to go through that and show you guys what I had. I took a lot of things out that I haven't seen in years. So I have a lot of vivid memories of September 11, 2001. I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the same place I reside today. Someone had told me that a plane had hit one of the World Trade Centers. And in my mind, like in a lot of people's mind, I imagined that it was a small plane or someone had made a terrible mistake and accidentally crashed into the Trade Center with a small plane or something like that. But when you actually first see the images of what was going on, it was clear that there was some catastrophic damage going on.
When you can see these pictures, it's obviously something devastating has happened. And again, unconfirmed report that a plane has crashed into one of the towers there. We are efforting more information on this subject as it becomes available to you.
Right now we've got Sean.
Like most people, I was watching the news as it unfolded after Flight 11 had hit the first tower, and I was watching the news live when Flight 175 hit the second tower a short time later.
Building. Oh, another one just hit. Something else just hit. A very large plane just flew directly over my building, and there's been another collision. Can you see it? I can see it on the shot.
Oh my.
Something else has just.
You know what? We just saw a plane circling the building.
It is.
Continued watching as these events unfolded.
Decision by the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, no planes are going to be allowed to take off from any airport in this entire country. All planes, no planes will be taking off today. They have made a decision to stop all air traffic control, all air traffic.
Marsha, we got to interrupt you. We just saw live from Chopper 2 yet another explosion. Did anybody, Janine, what did you see? You saw, was it an airplane or was it a...
It looked like a part of the building, if not most of the top, collapsed, and all the debris from the building was falling down towards the ground.
Look at the smoke. Look at the smoke. This is
the whole building, did it collapse?
In 2 American cities, New York and in Washington, the trade centers here in New York have been hit by airplanes. In Washington, there is a large fire at the Pentagon. The Pentagon has been evacuated. And there's, you can see, perhaps the second tower, the front tower, the top portion of which is collapsing. Good Lord. There are no words.
Flight 77 hit the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and then Flight 93, United 93, the news coverage of the plane in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. So by the end of the day, it was clear to me that this was a historic event, a turning point in the history of the United States and perhaps the rest of the world. And I just viewed it as an important event, and I started collecting newspaper, magazine covers of September 11, 2001. And I'm just going to show you guys what I have. Alright, so I have the Albuquerque Journal from September 12, 2001. This is the first time that the Albuquerque Journal talked about the terror attacks that occurred. Shows Flight 175 hitting the second tower, and has a quote from President Bush, "Today our nation saw evil." And on the other side, again, the impact of Flight 175 hitting the tower as well. And then we have, I was just scrambling everywhere. I went to a place called Page One, which was a newsstand, and I found the New York Times, which is pretty amazing. I remember I was looking for this a lot. So from September 12th, it says, U.S. attacked, hijacked jets destroyed Twin Towers and hit Pentagon in Day of Terror, right here. And here's the other side that shows the devastating images from that day. And I always hope to keep this one, a New York Times copy. And then I have one from the Michigan Daily, America in Crisis. Shows the first building, it looks like, being attacked, and Trade Center collapses after attack here. I believe I got this at Page One as well, which is a newsstand that's still open. They are just a lot smaller and in a different part of town. Detroit Free Press, America's Darkest Day. Shows the aftermath with the firefighters right there. And I did keep the Wall Street Journal. It doesn't have any images, and this is from September 12th. Has some good articles on here. And it's not in good shape. There's a little tear there, but terrorists destroy World Trade Center, hit Pentagon in raid with hijacked jets, from the Wall Street Journal. And USA Today, September 12th, 2001, active war. And again, one of the towers being hit. I see if I could open it. Yeah, it looks like the second tower being hit with Flight 175 there in the USA Today. And this one from Sports, it's interesting, the world of sports on hold. And I remember, you know, all the planes were grounded. We were living, still are living, in Albuquerque by Curlin Air Force Base, and the evening of September 11th, I vividly remember hearing a jet engine and going out to my backyard and trying to find or locate the airplane, and I couldn't. I just always assumed it was a military jet. All airlines had been grounded that day, and for a few days, I can't remember the exact day, it was like 2 or 3 days where you couldn't hear anything in the skies, and it was weird, kind of eerie, not hearing jet engines. Alright, this is Newsweek from September 11, 2001. Shows one of the towers from Flight 175. I believe this is the second tower being hit. Right there. And Time Magazine showing second tower being hit as well, with the first tower that was hit in the background. And behind it is Statue of Liberty with the smoke after the collapse. And this is from September 24th, 2001, with George W. Bush on the front there. This was probably his finest moment as president, and I can't remember what the date was, September 13th, when he was out there at on the top of the rubble of Ground Zero with the bullhorn.
I can hear you! I can hear you, the rest of the world hears you, and the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
And another Albuquerque Journal. This is 2 days later, the day after. Shows firefighters at Ground Zero. And it turns out a lot of these people who helped at Ground Zero had high rates of cancer and lung issues and are dying at high rates, which is still sad to hear and still an ongoing thing. New York Times, September 13th, 2001. So people working at Ground Zero right there. And another image of George W. Bush here from September 15th, 2001, Albuquerque Journal, finding strength with the American flag right there. And this is September 20th, 2001, Albuquerque Journal, the Afghanistan, beginning of the Afghanistan war. U.S. forces head out and trying to go after Osama bin Laden. I can't remember the name Operation Infinite Justice, which is weird. I always remember Desert Storm from the 1990 war. And this one is at USA Today from September 21st. The hour is coming. President Bush calls for a sustained and sometimes secret war against terrorists, warns Afghanistan and targets hostile regimes. Right there. Day from September 21st to 23rd, 2001. President Bush calls for a sustained and sometimes secret war against terrorists, warns Afghanistan and targets hostile regimes. It's the beginning of the Afghanistan war. And there are still U.S. troops there in Afghanistan. America's longest war. This is from September 21st, 2001, ultimatum. This is President Bush and his speech to Congress, memorable speech to Congress. Either you are with us or against us. I believe that's that speech. That's a Sunday Albuquerque Journal. October 8th, 2001, almost a month afterwards, Albuquerque Journal, Target Taliban has the maps of where we hit, and videotape shows satisfied bin Laden. Quote, there's America full of fear from its north to its south, from its west to its east. Thank God for that, Osama bin Laden. Right there. And it'd be a long time until Osama bin Laden was taken out. Actually, another administration, the Obama administration. And another one, George W. Bush, From Sorrow, Great Resolve. This is October 12th, 2001, a month and a day after the attacks. Albuquerque Journal. New York Times, November 25th, 2001, surrender of Taliban begins at last northern stronghold. Right there. And this one is from November 13th, 2001, rebels enter Kabul, Northern Alliance soldiers enter Kabul, Afghanistan. Albuquerque Tribune, it's an old newspaper from Albuquerque that no longer exists. And we got some in memoriam. This is September 11th, 2002, a year after the attacks. It shows all the names of the people killed a year later on the first anniversary of the attacks. And this is the Daily Lobo, the University of New Mexico paper, 10-year anniversary of the September 11th attacks in 2011. Right there. And this is 2011, almost 10 years later. Bin Laden is dead, justice has been done. Albuquerque Journal. And a memorable speech by Barack Obama in the White House and the celebrations that occurred afterwards of Osama bin Laden being killed.
Good evening. Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of al-Qaeda, and a terrorist who's responsible for the murder of thousands of innocent men, women, and children.
And this is the USA Today, May 2nd, 2011, Osama bin Laden killed in Pakistan. The closest I've been to Ground Zero was in 2010. I was in New York City for a short 2-day trip and was able to get to the top of the Empire State Building from the site deck. I could see the 2 empty spots where the 2 towers once existed. And next time in New York City, I'll probably go to actual Ground Zero in Manhattan. And also, surprisingly, when I was in Pompeii, Italy in the summer of 2018, there was a memorial to September 11th. And there was a twisted piece of metal from one of the towers in the World Trade Center, and I went over there and took a look at it. So here are some movies, documentaries that I own pertaining to September 11th, 2001. This is a DVD of an HBO presentation in memoriam, September 11th, 2001. And I do want to find the DVD of the HBO presentation of the 2001 New York Yankees. I saw that a long time ago and it was really good. So Oliver Stone film, World Trade Center with Nicolas Cage and Michael Pena. True story about 2 cops stuck in the rubble after the collapse of the buildings. It's a good movie. United 93. I still cannot stomach to watch this movie. I've owned this movie for years. Maybe I should watch it. It's time to watch it either tonight or tomorrow. And there's also another movie that came out shortly after this one called Flight 93. I think it was a TV movie. I haven't seen that one either. Another Oliver Stone film, W. Josh Brolin did an excellent job as George W. Bush in this. A lot of things about September 11th and the events afterward are on here. And I just was recently watching parts of this. I was curious to see how it had aged. This came out in 2004. Michael Moore film, Fahrenheit 9/11. No matter what you think of the politics and all that stuff, of course I don't agree with everything that is in this film. He is a great filmmaker. Just the editing of this movie and the music and everything, the visuals is good. So, and recently I saw this movie. Interesting depiction of September 11th. If you've seen it, just visually, I remember there's a picture of the towers. And if this is a case of what Dick Cheney did on September 11th, it is brutal. And the movie depicts it well.
Sir, Don Rumsfeld is at the Pentagon on line 3.
That?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Dick, are there still passenger planes in the air? I need rules of engagement.
Well, let's get the president back online soon.
You have authorization to shoot down any aircraft deemed a threat.
Presidential authority?
That is correct. All orders are Unidir.
Unidir, sir? Unless otherwise directed.
And good movie if you haven't seen it. Came out in 2018. Christian Bale plays Dick Cheney, which is a pretty amazing role. And there are a lot of memories of after September 11, 2001, when we were trying to get things back to normal. David Letterman, for instance, coming back for the first Late Show and talking about how we can move on from here. Saturday Night Live, the first Saturday Night Live with Rudy Giuliani, Conan O'Brien, Jon Stewart getting emotional talking about September 11th, and of course South Park, the first episode of South Park after September 11th, 2001. That's where the first image of that South Park episode is when I remember laughing hard, like crying laughing for the first time after September 11th had occurred.
Remember when life used to be simple and cool? Not really. Hey, how's it going, fellas? Butters, what the hell are you doing?
Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. September 11, 2001 is a historic event that I lived through and something that I always be interested and fascinated by. So I appreciate it. Have a good night, and I'll see you on the next one.